The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hey, Sal.
Hank, what's going on? We haven't worked a case in years.
I just bought my car in Havana, and it was so easy. Too easy.
Think something's up?
You tell me. They got thousands of options. Found a great car at a great price. And it got delivered the next day.
It sounds like Carvana just makes it easy to buy your car, Hank.
Yeah, you're right. Case closed.
Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast, coming to you on a Saturday morning. This is Jacob Milham. So, going back, listen to Thursday's episode, and, my service wasn't great. Kept on cutting in and out. It just wasn't a good product. So, Jeremy was gracious enough to hop on to another episode, and we have a lot to talk about, Jeremy.
Yep, because we had a full episode, and more things have happened, and some of it's going to have to wait until tomorrow's episode. Yes, we're going to do 2 episodes back to back here to catch you all up because there's just too much to put on one episode.
Yes,
and,
that there is.
We do apologize for the technical snafus, but a little peek behind the curtain. Jacob was like, "Do we really want to do this?" I'm like, "Man, I know the WBC is old news, and I know that when we were recording it on Thursday, we were like, that feels like last year already." But I would want to hear us talk about the WBC. So I made Jacob, I told him we're talking about the WBC for the people out there who are like, where are Jeremy and Jacob talking about the WBC?
Bam, here we are.
The championship game, baby.
Yes. And before we hop into it, quick reminder, make sure you subscribe or follow the podcast wherever you're listening at. It supports us and makes us know that we're doing something right on our end. And make sure that you never miss another episode. Plus, go check out Royals Reviewed. We got the game threads up there. Today is the final spring training game thread. Yes, if you're listening to this on Saturday afternoon, the final day for Cactus League action, baby, before the boys in blue head down to Texas for their Six Flags outing. And then they go on, they face two games against the Texas Rangers before they head on down to Atlanta for opening day. We are less than a week out. But we do need to look about a week in the past first, looking at the World Baseball Classic. Team USA, Team Venezuela facing off for the ultimate bragging rights around the world. And Team Venezuela, the plucky underdog of the tournament play, came out on top over Team USA. Jeremy
hadn't made a semifinal since 2009, had never made the finals. They are now your 4th ever WBC champions.
Yes.
They've won it as many times as USA now. So what does that say about USA?
Well, what does it say? Well, I don't want to talk about Team USA just quite yet. I want to focus on Team Venezuela here, especially, there were 4 Royals on Team Venezuela. Like Kansas City was pretty well represented. So Maikel Garcia, Salvador Perez, Winder Avila, and then Juan Graterol.
Oh, okay. I don't know who Juan Graterol is.
The bullpen catcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Also, you definitely said Maikel, and it's Maikel.
Gosh, that was another thing that we talked about in the last
episode. you all missed us stumbling over Maikel, or we were calling him Michael. I think it's, and we're probably going to pronounce it Michael because it does sound like I'm trying to do a racist stereotype when I say Maikel. But I think that's literally how it's supposed to be pronounced, based on how he said it, based on my admittedly rudimentary understanding of the Spanish language and how names are usually pronounced. It was never Maikel. Somebody somewhere in the Royals organization probably made a bad assumption or misheard him or miswrote. This could easily be what it was, because maybe I don't go down that rabbit trail. That's probably too far for most people. But the way we depict pronunciations can be a little fraught, a little unspecific.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so somebody may have miswritten down because it is that last syllable is a little bit more pronounced than the traditional American Michael or English Michael. It's Maikel, but it is not Maikel. It's Maikel. Like the emphasis is still on that first syllable, but that second syllable does get a little bit more of an S sound. And if people would use the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, if that would become, it is already standardized, but people just don't use it. If people would use that for pronunciations, if we learned that in school, then, as I did when I was earning my theater degree, then we would be a lot better off, but we don't. So it's fine.
But here we are. At the end of the day, that was, I don't want to say that was something the Royals fans glossed over, but it was something that was easy to miss because I think on the previous episode, we were talking about, like, well, why are all these broadcasters saying Michael all of a sudden? And lo and behold, we saw a clip after the fact of a broadcaster interviewing Garcia, and he gave the correct pronunciation. So we do appreciate that, and we do appreciate the comfort for him to have the confidence to correct that, because that is certainly something that you could just go along with the flow of things, say like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that explains why the mispronunciation has persisted for 3 years into his major league career.
Correct.
But yeah, once you become the WBC MVP, I think that does give you probably some extra and earned confidence.
Yeah, certainly does. Led all players with 10 hits, MVP of the World Baseball Classic. Just an awesome moment in his career, I'm sure.
His stats were eye-popping, but when he earned those stats was equally eye-popping. So you go back to the final pool game, Dominican Republic versus Venezuela, battling to see who's the number 1 seed. He shows up. He gets you 4 hits and a walk, including a double. I think he had a stolen base. I can't remember. He had 3 stolen bases in the tournament, though. Didn't get caught once. He shows up. His team loses, but he showed up. And then you get to the quarterfinal against Japan, where Venezuela were very much the underdogs. They were down by 3. He shows up with a 2-run home run, gets his team right back in the game, gets some energy in his dugout, in the stands, and they eventually come back. In the semifinal, he's the one who drives in the go-ahead run against Team Italy. And of course, in the final against USA, he's the one who drives in the first run by tattooing a ball to center field that becomes a sacrifice fly, driving in his once and future teammate, Salvador Perez.
Yes. And, Salvi, to his credit, he didn't do a whole lot in the box score, but just from seeing how the team received him, like, he was a natural captain. And, like, that's something that Royals fans know. Salvi is a natural leader. He has been for a very, very long time. And it seems like Team Venezuela really rallied around him.
Yeah, I think, to me, everyone, all the Royals position players that participated in the World Baseball Classic felt like they had kind of a national coming out party, except for Salvi, who was already kind of a national name. Everyone kind of refers to him as a future Hall of Famer, even though I feel like that's still not 100% certain. Give him a couple more years, and I think he'll be there, especially if he passes George Brett for the team lead in home runs. If he gets to 350, I think he's a first ballot. But we'll see how many he can hit over the next few years. And if he doesn't retire, he did say after he won the championship he could now retire. Hold on now. Not yet, Sal. We're not done yet, buddy. Keep going.
Yes.
But he, while everyone else was having national breakouts, he was having kind of a breakout in my mind of me getting a better perspective on what it means for Salvador Perez to be a leader, because everyone leads in different ways. And the way Salvador Perez was leading that team, I feel like it brought out, you'll see these guys will show up differently playing for their home countries than they will for USA. And part of that's because just the culture of baseball is different, as we've talked about many times. And so he was we know Salvi's an energetic guy, but he was more energetic in the dugout for those teams than he usually is for the Royals. Of course, he's not usually in the dugout for the Royals. So we got to see the camera went to him a lot also. So I feel like I really got to see him showing his leadership, not just on the field, but also off the field. And of course, they talked a lot about how he was showing up for the young pitching staff and providing lots of guidance, helping them in what was a truly sensational performance from the Venezuelan pitching staff against a loaded Team USA lineup in that final, where they only gave up 3 hits in that whole game. I mean, that's some stunning stuff against that lineup. So there's obviously a lot going on there, but Salvador Perez was right in the middle of it, and he had to me what is an iconic on the field play when he gunned down Seiya Suzuki in that quarterfinal to keep things. I can't remember what the score was at that moment. It was in the first inning, but to just kind of set the tone of Venezuela is not going to let you just walk all over us just because you're Japan and you're favored to win this game. We're here to play too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can say that sometimes in different sports in the tournament format, some teams have an easier path to the final and that ultimately that championship than others. Can't say that about Team Venezuela. Going through Japan and Team USA and red hot Team Italy,
and
between those two.
Playing Team Dominican Republic, which was in some corners favored to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
They fought him to a standstill almost in the pool finale.
Yep. That they did. And that was, I don't know, like this just has to be so rejuvenating for Venezuela as a whole. I've seen so many like positive videos of celebrations. Like there's that grandpa watching the game outside on like I'm shit you not, like maybe like a 7-inch wide screen, just watching it outside, black and white, going crazy. Like there's just this different energy about baseball outside of America sometimes. And I think that when Team Venezuela triumphed, you really saw that front and center. I'm sure this also has to be super special for a guy like Perez, who has been, with Team Venezuela for a long time of his career and finally getting to this pinnacle. I'm sure that when he said he's ready, like he could retire now, he meant that as, well, he can retire happy. He's done everything. He's now one of 25 players to win a World Series title and a World Baseball Classic title. 4 other ones from the Royals alone out of the 25 ever to do it, which is crazy.
Now you need to tell me who those other Royals are, Jacob. Come on.
Well, so Eric Hosmer and Danny Duffy.
He played in the WBC.
Yeah. Kelvin Herrera.
To be fair, I did not pay any attention to WBC rosters until 23, and that's my bad.
I will certainly agree with that. Eric Hosmer, Danny Duffy, Kelvin Herrera, and Edison Volquez.
They do it for Dominican Republic the year that team won?
If I recall correctly, yes. But all in all, great WBC. MLB The Show is doing everything they can to capitalize on the momentum. I feel like MLB as a whole did a very good job of capitalizing on the momentum. And I feel like it's going to come to a screeching halt once we go back to this format where games are now exclusively on this platform that you have to subscribe for, such as opening night, not opening day, opening night of the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants.
Exclusively on Netflix, which also reminds me, by the way, that Japan was only able to watch the WBC on Netflix.
Gross.
Which you want to talk about, I don't want to download Tubi. Well, do you want to download and pay for Netflix if you weren't already a subscriber? And Netflix is not as big in Japan as it is in the United States, which is probably one of the reasons they did it, to try to be like, Japan loves the WBC. This will get them to sign up. And it didn't. Well, maybe it did. I don't know. But they had record numbers previously watching the WBC. And I think they were down. Speaking of which, also, the WBC championship game was one of the most viewed things. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but apparently it was very, very big deal. Lots of people watching that game. So that's good. But to go back to your original point, after my 700 rabbit trails. Yeah, opening night, Yankees and Giants, Max Fried and Logan Webb should be a tremendous matchup. Rafael Devers, Jung-Hoo Lee, Matt Chapman, a lot of really good players on the Giants, and of course the Yankees are the Yankees. Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, all those guys, and it's exclusively on Netflix. And I know Netflix is continuing to push into the live sports space, and I understand why they would want to do that, and I understand why MLB is giving into it. and the NFL because of the Christmas games, of course, and the boxing. I don't care about the boxing because I don't watch the boxing. As we talked about on our Broken episode, I don't even know which Paul is a boxer.
Logan Paul wrestles, Jake Paul boxes. That's how I remember it.
All the Pauls go away now. But yeah, so MLB wants the money, and MLB, I think, and I say this all the time, but the MLB as a whole, and especially the owners, are so short-sighted, I feel like, in so many things. I remember when Cleveland used to sell out their stadium, they had this streak that went for years where they sold out every game. It's like, well, why do they sell out? Well, because they have good teams, and they kept selling out when their teams were bad for a while, and they don't want to put good teams on the field because it doesn't guarantee a profit, but it does in the long term. If you are consistently good, people keep showing up, and I just see these teams that don't care about winning, and I see MLB not caring about making its product visible. They care about getting the most money they can get right this second. And it drives me nuts. And to me, this is a very different thing from an Apple TV or an ESPN or an NBC getting an exclusive game of the week, or Tubi getting, or not Tubi, Fubo, whichever one of those streaming services gets the Sunday morning game of the week. Because first of all, most of those services are cheaper than Netflix. Netflix has gotten very expensive over the past few years. I don't know if you've noticed. It's very expensive out there. And also, you're going to get a Netflix subscription to watch one game. You're not going to get to watch one a week. It's one game.
Yeah.
Finally, like, there's good stuff on these other platforms. If you love sports, ESPN's got all kinds of stuff going on. If you love good TV, Apple's got so many good shows that we've talked about so many times. And NBC's got a whole back catalog of awesome things, all these different places. Netflix has a bunch of garbage. Spoiler alert, but my Royals review today is going to be a Netflix movie, and it's not going to be a positive review.
Surprise.
They only, and we've talked a little bit about Stranger Things, which was kind of the thing that launched Netflix into creating their own content, and people going, wow, that can work, to it started off so good and it ended up so bad. Like, the quality dropped off so hard season after season. And now all the stuff they put on there, they do have some animated movies that are really, really good. Mitchell's versus the Machines, Nimona, and there's one more that I'm struggling with right now. Oh, K-Pop Demon Hunters, which just joined the Criterion Collection.
Yeah,
for goodness sakes.
Hey, it won an Oscar.
They have they do have a handful of good things, but for the most part, Netflix is just full of slop. And I can't recommend getting a Netflix subscription to watch a baseball game in the same way that I can recommend an Apple subscription. And getting in bed with a low quality producer like Netflix, it's the shotgun effect of, like, when they have a good thing, it's not because they do good things, it's because if you shoot enough times, you eventually hit the target.
Yeah, eventually. I'm no basketball player, but if I put up enough 3-point shots, I can make a few. All right, that's how it works.
That reminds me of when I was a kid. I think I was 18, and they had a men's sports night thing at my church, and one of the things you could compete in was a 3-point shooting contest. You got 10 shots, and I put up 10 shots, and I almost hit one of them.
Hell yeah.
I was I'm going to nail this. I shoot I got a basketball hoop in my driveway. I do this all. Nope. I hit one.
Does not shine or does not perform well under the bright lights, much like Team USA's captain Aaron Judge.
Shots fired.
Anywho's. Overall, I don't think Team USA, from a box score perspective, has. Go ahead.
Can I want to take a shot real quick.
Okay.
And this is probably
Tequila,
not
vodka?
fair, but the espresso. I think of the big story for most of the tournament for Team USA was Cal Raleigh and the handshakes, right? And we've talked about that. You know who played awful the entire tournament to the point that he didn't get to play at all in the semi or the final?
Cal Raleigh.
So was that lack of sportsmanship doing him any favors, actually?
Doesn't seem like it.
I just had to throw that out there. And we talked about that. I think I mentioned this before. I love Cal Raleigh, the baseball player. I've been a huge fan of what he brings to the diamond as a catcher, as a guy who hits clutch home runs, as a switch hitter. I'm not impressed with how he behaved during the World Baseball Classic. And I've heard I did see Meg Rowley of Fangraphs and Effectively Wild, who is a huge Mariners fan, said that
Yeah.
she thinks that Cal may have been influenced by certain members of Team USA, namely their captain and manager, to behave a certain way, and that she hopes and doesn't really believe that he will continue to behave that way once he rejoins Seattle. And I hope she's right, because I want to believe that Cal is, as far as baseball players at least go, a decent dude, because it's hard for me to root for guys who aren't decent dudes.
Yeah.
Even though I want to be like, well, he's just a baseball player and I just want to celebrate his baseball accomplishments. I can't separate the man from the sport once I know the man. So that's why I try not to find out too much about these guys in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that approach to it. I do want to say, like, Team USA at the end of the day, second place finish is, like, that's further than a lot of other teams. Dominican Republic didn't get that far. Team Japan didn't get that far.
Only one team can finish. Only two teams finish as high as second.
Right. Like that's just the nature of sports. I don't think from the overall event perspective, Team USA has too much to be disappointed in. However, go ahead.
We've talked about it endlessly about how a short series, anything can happen in a short series. If anything can happen in a short series, what can happen in a single game?
Yeah.
You think that Venezuela plays Team USA six more times, that Team USA doesn't win 4 of those? I think Team USA probably wins 4 of those. I'm just saying.
I did see a tweet, like some satire on Mark DeRosa. They're like, "Hey, it's okay, guys. It's a best of 5 series. We'll go get him tomorrow." Like, no, Mark, no, it's not how this works. Oh my gosh!
So, there's really nothing to be ashamed of. It's just how that game went. Just like the Dodgers don't cry. They don't go slam their fists into walls because they lost to the Rockies. Yes, you're much better than the Rockies, but anything can happen in an individual game.
Absolutely.
And the way that the Team USA left that field left a really bad taste in my mouth.
As it should.
We've spent a lot of time bashing on Team USA, and I'm ready to move on from that after this. But like
one more thing.
When Italy beat Puerto Rico in the quarterfinals, Puerto Rico all came on the field to thank their fans for supporting them. They were not ashamed of how far they'd gotten. They were not embarrassed. They were grateful to have been able to participate. They were grateful to the people who supported them. And that was really cool. And that's being good people. That's good sportsmanship. Team USA, on the other hand, didn't do any of that. Not only did they not do any of that, but when they got their silver medals awarded to them, put on over their necks by the commissioner of baseball, several of them immediately took them back off. Like they were annoyed that they had to go, and their faces through the whole thing that I saw were like annoyed that they had to go through all of this. And I think we give athletes in general, to take this away from Team USA for a second, maybe we give them too much of a pass for how cranky they get about losing a damn game. I remember when the Broncos beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl, and there was a lot of grief given to Cam Newton in some circles, and a lot of defenses offered up for Cam of like, holy crap, he just lost the biggest game of his life, doesn't know if he'll ever get there, like give him some grace to be upset. Like, dude, you still got millions of dollars. You still got paid big time for this. You showed up, you did your job, you lost. It sucks, but you also have a professional responsibility. Like, if I have a bad day at work, I can't be a cranky baby at all of my coworkers over it, right? Or at my clients or at anybody else. I got to man up, or I got to, whatever gender up, and I got to do my job, and I got to speak with politeness, and I got to be respectful of other people and their time. Mm-hmm. And Team USA didn't show that. And athletes in general are kind of babies about that sometimes, I think. And they could stand to be a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, that they certainly could. I do on that note, I do want us to take a quick break and go ahead and move on from the World Baseball Classic here. We do have a few other things to discuss, including the Royal Spring Breakout performance.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Reggie, I just sold my car online.
Let's go, Grandpa. Wait, you did?
Yep, on Carvana. Just put in the license plate, answered a few questions, got an offer in minutes. Easier than setting up that new digital picture frame.
You don't say.
Yeah, they're even picking it up tomorrow. Talk about fast.
Wow, way to go. So, about that picture frame.
Forget about it. Until Carvana makes one, I'm not interested.
Car selling made easy. On
Carvana.
pickup fees may apply.
Routing the Rangers, and we will get right back to it here in 1 second. Welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast.
Now, hang on a second, Jacob.
Oh my God, Jeremy.
I know that I went off on like 800 rabbit trails, but the Royals showed out in this World Baseball Classic, and it wasn't just Maikel Garcia, and it wasn't just Salvador Perez. We got to talk about some of these other guys. Seth Lugo had 4 scoreless innings to get Puerto Rico their first win in the tournament. He didn't look so good in the second one, but some of that was bad luck. Michael Wacha had 2 amazing innings of relief and then a third inning that wasn't so good, but it was good enough. With a big lead. You know, a lot of times I think with big leads, pitchers are prone to give up more runs because everyone's like, just throw strikes, dang it. And then they throw one right down the middle and the guy hits it. And you're like, well, oops.
Don't throw strikes.
Luinder Avila didn't have a great first outing, but his 2 1/3 scoreless against Italy in the semis was a key to the team getting back in that game. He looked fantastic. Let me shout out former Royal Angel Serpa, whose slider has never looked as good as it did there. So credit to the Brewers for finding a sweeper better than the Royals did, or a sweeper slider, whatever it was he was throwing, better than the Royals could figure out, because the Royals are so good at that, as we always talk about. Yeah. Bobby Witt Jr. got one of the best memes of the tournament with his tremendous defensive play. He also, he didn't hit poorly. I mean, he didn't drop a bomb, but, you know, we'll get those Bobby bombs during the season. But he played such amazing defense that Olivia Dunn posted that meme of the guy who's with one woman looking back at another one. And she photoshopped Paul Skeen's head, her partner. I'm not sure, married, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever their relationship is. But her partner, Paul Skeen's head on the guy, Bobby Witt on the lady he's looking towards, and her own head on the woman that he's ignoring. Just a tremendous meme. Vinny Pasquantino was showing up as a captain for Team Italy. I think that when Salvi retires, he could become the Royals' next captain, potentially. I think that would be awesome. He was really showing up as a captain, and then, of course, put up the first ever 3 home run game in the WBC. Jack Caglione walked more than he struck out, launched a 2-run bomb against USA to be like, listen, I know we're up 3-0, but we're not done here. We're going to finish this game off. And at one point had 7 straight plate appearances without an out, Jacob.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And the home run he hit was against Ryan Yarbrough, who was throwing some nasty breaking pitches, lefty on lefty. And he spit on the ones he couldn't hit, and then he got one he could, and he launched it. So just a really good tournament for the Royals in general. And now I will allow you to move us on to the next thing.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. That is very, very gracious of you, I will say. So later on in the episode, we will highlight some minor league rule changes that fans should probably be aware of, and kind of talk about some of the probabilities of these making it to the big leagues. Especially after we're getting ABS this year after so many years of it being in the minors and so many rule changes we see now were first tested out in the minors. So it's something to keep an eye on. But for minor league action, we turn back to Surprise, where yesterday the Royals and Rangers faced off. And, I mean, the Royals, it was a one-sided affair from almost the jump. The Royals ended up winning 9-2. Here's the thing. So we saw a good amount of prospects that we've seen plenty of, I would say. Carson Rockefeller, Blake Mitchell, Gavin Cross. Like these are guys that we saw in action over the past couple of years in varying levels, excuse me. And we also got to see some guys that we haven't seen a bunch of. This is our first look on a broadcast at Sean Gamble, at Josh Hammond. So that was really good. If you hop onto Baseball Savant, they have all the data there. If you're okay, well, what was the exit velo? What was the sprint speed and stuff like that? But I will say this: as much as the run support was there for the Royals, I was locked in on the pitching side of this for the spring breakout.
For sure, the pitching was fantastic. I walked away from that game with about 4 guys that I thought had really, really impressive games. 2 offensively, 2 pitchers, and then actually 1 defender got called out a few times. That was in the night game. Sorry, that I'm thinking
gotcha.
of. There was a prospect who came in late in the night game that shout out Jake Eisenberg, who was really going over the minutia of scorekeeping in last night's game. That was a lot of fun. It was great to hear that. I've kept score for years, 20-ish years, probably, maybe more than that, actually, ever since I played MLB Showdown. And my aunt told me I did it wrong. And Jake says, there is no right way to keep score. It's whatever works for you.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciated hearing that, and yeah, that was great. Anyway, the 2 hitters, 2 pitchers, and why don't I let you go first, Jacob? Pick someone to highlight, and then I'll take a turn. We'll go back and forth, maybe.
Okay, well, I'll start on the pitching side of things, and I think that one guy who completely I flipped my opinion on from like tepid to like, hey, this is somebody to watch, probably Justin Lampkin.
My gosh, yeah.
He started the game for the Royals when 3 innings, no hits, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts. You go and the control isn't there. Let's be clear. He was spraying the ball around a little bit there. But you're telling me
only 1 walk and hit batter though.
Exactly. Like you're telling me that the Rangers swung at his slider 9 times and they whiffed on it 8 of those times. All right, like he was doing some disgusting things. All right, it was overall, let's see here, gosh dang it, I had the math pulled up. Like 60% of all the sliders he threw was either a called strike or a whiff. Like that is an insane rate. So he's coming out of college, I wasn't super high on him. Just I felt like he didn't show a lot of stuff at Texas A&M. The Royals have obviously been tinkering around with him because he's got a few pitches I don't think Savant was picking up. If you go look at his pitch chart, there's some outliers there, so I need to dive in and try to figure out what those pitches are. But overall, I think he had a great performance. What are your takes on Lamb?
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. I was watching the game. The Texas Rangers had a broadcast of it, which, side note, I appreciate actually getting to watch one of these for once, because the Royals carried the Rangers broadcast. But come on, guys, get together. Yeah. Let's get somebody from each team to cover this if we're only going to have one broadcast, because I was getting exclusively a Rangers perspective on things, which no shade to the Rangers, but I wanted to hear about the Royals prospects, and there was no Royals radio even. The only coverage I could get was from the Rangers.
Yeah, that was disappointing. Or like I tried to, before the game, right? I tried to hop on to the Royals media stuff and see like, okay, are they putting out game notes at least for this? They didn't even put out game notes for the spring breakout, which that was really disappointing.
Yeah. But he was fantastic. Watching those first couple innings, it was funny. I had it written down. There were 9 strikeouts, 4 walks, and a hit by pitch or something crazy in the first 2 innings of the game between the 2 starting pitchers. Which is only 3 balls in play on like 17 batters or something ridiculous.
Goodness.
Just bonker stuff. But he was good. He had him completely off balance, and the Rangers don't have just a bunch of chumps out there. They had some good guys. Speaking of getting that Rangers perspective, they were talking about how a lot of these guys could be part of the big league team before the end of the year.
Yeah, that they were. So it was certainly a very exciting game for them to see those players in action. I'm sure it would have been better to see them get a win. Who's your other pitcher that you wanted to highlight?
It's Kendry Churio.
Yeah, obviously.
He came in. Lampkin gave us 3 innings, and Kendry Churio came in 2 innings, 3 strikeouts, 1 hit, no walks, no runs. I mean, he was just also dominant. And again, he is, correct me if I'm wrong, 19 years old, a teenager. And this is higher level competition than he's used to pitching against, because even the A-ball guys that he's pitching against are the best A-ball guys that the Rangers can offer, right? It's not just their A-ball lineup, but there's also AA and AAA in there.
Yeah.
And he was handling all of them for 2 innings. His control was not perfect either. He missed the strike zone a few times. Let me see if I can find this real quick. 30 pitches, only 19 strikes. That's 2/3 basically. But yeah, he for a guy who's known for his control, I would expect it to maybe be even higher in a short performance like that. But regardless, just controlled the game for 2 innings against really tough competition for his age. And there's reasons that when I say that Kendry Churio could be pitching for the Kansas City Royals sometime next year, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, another thing of note, he topped out velocity-wise at 97.7 miles per hour last year. In the spring breakout alone, he touched 98.5 miles per hour as a starter.
He's a 19-year-old.
Yeah, he
is. He can snapper and throw harder.
Yeah, and he's, it was not impeccable control, right? Like, I have definitely seen better performances from him in a control sense. But for his age, for his stuff, still pretty dang good.
I'll
take
he's known
it.
for his control as a 19-year-old, and how often does that happen? And he
doesn't.
throws it. He's known for his control, and he throws it 98. Like, he's not known for the 98. He's known for his control. This is why I'm so excited about him as a pitcher. Me, famously, won't pay attention to a guy till he gets to AA. This is why I'm paying attention. I'm making an exception for Kendry Churio.
Absolutely, as you should. So who are your 2 batters? I want to flip it back to you. Who are your batters that you're looking at here?
So Gavin Cross, I thought, had a really interesting game. Royals Review had a really great article about him, I think, where they I don't remember who wrote it now. I think it might have been Connor. Connor Moylan, but I can look it up here in a second. But he played first base, which I found bizarre. I'd never heard, but apparently he's been working on learning first base to give himself some positional flexibility to make getting to the big leagues a little bit easier. Because if all you can play is the outfield, it's harder to carry you unless you're a starter. And to be able to play the outfield and first base gives you an opportunity to cover multiple positions, gives you an opportunity to make it to the big leagues sooner. So I think he's going to start in AAA, but he also launched a massive home run in that game. And I think he took a walk. Did he take a walk? He did not take a walk. He was 1 for 2 with a strikeout and the 2-run homer. So just he's a guy, he's still only 25. I feel like I keep trying to write him off because he's been a prospect for so long and he hasn't had the success, but he's still only 25. Now that is at the edge. Like, once you hit 26 and you haven't made it to the big leagues, you're falling off the prospect radar.
Yeah.
And you make it to 27 and you're falling off really an opportunity to ever truly be a starter outside of some very rare circumstances.
Yeah.
But he's still 25, so he's still on that edge. And it would be great if he could kind of break out in AAA this year and force the Royals' hand in the outfield a little bit with these veterans, Starling Marte and Lane Thomas, who I still constantly want to refer to as Nathan Lane. So just know, if I say Nathan, I mean Lane Thomas.
There you go. One guy that I didn't want to point out later on, he didn't come in until later on in the game, only had 2 at-bats, but holy smokes, he made the most of them. Darrison Garcia, he's a middle infielder, hasn't played above the complex league, only 18 years old, probably like a $170 soaking wet. Holy smokes. He smoked in his 2 at-bats, he smoked 2 hits, scored a run. He did really, really good. It's very much not the norm for him. Like, he's been a sub 700 OPS guy his whole career. So maybe the new hitting philosophy is gonna affect him, or maybe it was just a really good game for him on the biggest stage he's had so far. But shout out to him. Who's your other batter?
Blake Mitchell.
Yeah.
Who I feel like is another guy who, because of the struggles he had due to an injury in his case rather than an illness in Charles' case, and having been around for a few years, and of course the rise of Carter Jensen made it so, well, why am I paying attention to that catcher when I can pay attention to this catcher who's closer and better? He launched an opposite field home run. So the big thing that Blake Mitchell was missing last year was his power after the hamate bone injury. And even in Arizona, an Oppo Taco that's yeoman's work, as they say. And so he showed up 109 miles an hour off the bat, 110.1 for Gavin Crosses, by the way. These were not cheap shots in Arizona. These were monster bombs, baby. And he showed up, and that was a 3-run homer that he hit. And again, opposite field, the power showed up. He did have a walk. Yes, he went 1 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout and played catcher for the Royals prospects in that game. So, and obviously the pitching staff enjoyed throwing to him.
Yeah, obviously.
1 hit, 1 walk, bunch of strikeouts, no runs scored. That's what you want from your catcher.
That will play. Another guy that I want to point out, Yandel Ricardo. So he's one of those prospects who has been in the top 30 rankings for a minute now, and you just haven't seen a whole lot of him. 19 years old. He's struggled in his first foray into Colombia. I'm sure he's going to start the season there once again, but he showed his tools for the Royals. He showed really good bat to ball skills. The fielding was good from what I saw. Overall, he left the game. Shoot, I had his numbers here. He had a couple of walks. He had a hit. It was one of those performances that you like to see from a guy who has speed, has a good glove.
Stole a base.
Stole a base. So
your audio's gone. I think you unplugged your microphone. I'm not the only one with microphone troubles anymore.
Nope, it is absolutely me too. It has been.
There we go.
I'm over here thinking like, oh well, we gotta get the we have to record because the freaking what's it called was so bad. But here we are, and my video
our own technical difficulties.
Now the video won't even come back. Goodness. But overall, Ricardo did really well. Very abbreviated look that we get at these prospects in the spring breakout, and when you could show all 5 tools that you have in that's very impressive in my.
I want to shout out one more guy that I had forgotten about real quick.
Okay.
Austin Charles.
Yeah.
Pinch hit for Daniel Vasquez, played the rest of the game at shortstop, went 2 for 2. The big thing that stood out for me is that dude is huge.
Yes, he's big.
I now understand why the Royals were interested in him in the 20th round as a massive shortstop. You have to call him a tall stop.
Ha 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 ha. Very funny.
The physical tools are obviously there.
Yes.
Hopefully he'll figure something out with his production, because it has not been there to this point, as we discussed when we were talking about our infield kind of organizational depth chart rankings earlier this year. But yeah, the dude's size is undeniable. I want him to succeed just because he's so dang big.
I completely agree. He's been one of those guys that a lot of folks have been watching for a while now. It feels like.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
Just got to start producing once the games count. All right. Speaking of the minor leagues, let's go ahead and look at some of these rule changes, Jeremy. So you brought this to my attention, and this is a lot lengthier list than I think I originally anticipated.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a lot of rule changes. I think you have a better grasp on what it means that they're moving second base. So could you explain that a little bit?
The best understanding I can get is, first of all, that second base has never been exactly 90 feet from first and third. There's an explanation for it that I haven't bothered to look up, but it was originally 88 feet and 1.5 inches from first, and then they made it a little bit bigger, and it became 87 feet and 9 inches from first, and now they're in some leagues. Remember, even in AAA and AA, all these levels, there are multiple leagues. So in some leagues, they're going to move it, and it will be 87 feet away. So they'll move it to be inside the corner of the diamond instead of right now. If you made a diamond going from home plate to the outer edge of first base and then the other outer edge of first base up to second, it would go through the middle of second. And so they're going to bring it in towards home plate a little bit to fit inside the diamond. So it'll be a little bit closer to first base. And I guess the goal here is that MLB has recognized that stolen bases are exciting. And so they're trying to encourage players to steal more. And so if you maybe bring the base in a little bit closer, maybe that those 7 inches make a stolen base a little bit more appealing. I would argue that the best rule change you could do if you wanted to increase stolen bases would be to add a hover rule for second base, so that if you slide into this incredibly hard base, remember when they were originally creating stolen bases, they were bags that you could slide into, soft, and they would absorb impact. They're hard now. They don't absorb impact like that. And so when you slide into this base, you can pop off of it really easily. And with the introduction of replay, it's been misused to call guys out for popping up off of the base. I mean, that's why they call them bags, is because they're bags. I said that because I almost said off the base to just in by millimeters, and the guy holds the tag on this whole time. I'm not talking about if you slide fully past the base. If you do that, you should be out. You didn't slide well enough. But if you slide into this rock hard base and you're with your cleats and your rock hard body, then the impact is going to force you off of it by a nanometer. And so if they really wanted to fix that, they would change it so that as long as you're over the base, even if you, as long as you have A, touched the base, and B, remained over the base at all times, you're safe. And Jacob is muted right now. I don't know if he means to be, but that's how I would change it. But that's the idea, I guess, behind moving the base, is to make it so that if you slide, you're going to be a little bit closer to first base, maybe make it more appealing to try and steal. This is one rule. The talk in the article was like, not all of these rules will make it to the big leagues. Oh, I see Jacob has sent me chats. I should see what those are. Right, got it now. So I see that that's what they're trying to get. I don't think this is one of those that's going to make it to the big leagues. A lot of these rules, maybe none of these rules will ever make it to the big leagues. This is not the same thing as when they started introducing the ABS system or the pitch clock in the minors, where the ultimate goal was these are definitely coming to the big leagues in some form. We're just figuring out what that form looks like. Some of these changes, and again, maybe many, maybe none of them will ever make it to the big leagues.
Yeah, maybe not. One rule that I think will make it to the big leagues from these is the check swing rules. I think that the technology is in place. So what this is hitters, catchers, and pitchers can now challenge a checked swing call, which will be very, very interesting. For the first time, there will be specific wording that lays out what a swing is. The memo says, that if the maximum angle between the bat head and the bat handle exceeds 45 degrees, that will be a swing. Anything less than is a no swing. So essentially, the technology that they have in place with the ABS is also allowing them to bring this into games. Like, I think it's both the combination of the process and the technology in place. Like, we figured out how to make the ABS pretty quick, pretty smooth. Let's also add this, because that's another, this is another human element, human error aspect of umpiring. So I'm interested to see how this works out, but I don't know.
The check swing thing has always been frustrating because not only is it a human element, but it's not even, as you said, it's not even been defined. And they talk about this on broadcasts all the time, that there is no definition of what a swing is. It's basically up to the umpire to decide, do I feel like that was a swing or not? And that's a crazy position. And it's no wonder that players and managers and everybody else gets upset of like, well, I think that was a swing. Why is your opinion better than my opinion when there's no definition?
Yeah.
So to have a definition and to go along with that, and maybe we've never had a definition, because what would the definition have been before you had the technology to measure that angle? I don't know what the definition would have been. So now we have the technology and they're making this definition. And I agree with you. I think this is something that will probably make it to the big leagues eventually, because it is a huge source of frustration and it just doesn't need to be.
The pitch clock changes. That's so as you, I don't know if you already said it. Sorry, I had to step away for a second, folks. But Jeremy pointed out in the episode that we previously recorded that the game times are starting to creep back up ever so slightly. And so, it's not major right now, but you don't want it to be a trend. You don't want it to trend further upwards in 3-4 years. So one way that they could do that? Well, apparently taking away batter timeouts completely in low A is one way that they're trying to do that. And I don't like that. I really don't like that.
Yeah, this is another one I don't think will ever make it to the big leagues in this form. I'm not sure what the ultimate answer. No, wait, there is another. So there's a bunch of variations on this rule.
Yeah.
They're trying out in different
at each level.
So you've got the no batter timeouts at all. You can have a timeout if there's a runner on, which I don't really understand because the runner doesn't affect the hitter that much.
I think not.
In the same, like, they extend the pitch clock for a pitcher when a runner's on because he has to hold the runner. But I don't really understand the timeout if there's a runner on for a hitter. I guess maybe because it's tenser and so they want to take a break more. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Now, the one that I do think could make it to the big leagues is they've got a shorter batter timeout. Yes. So the way batter timeouts currently work is if the umpire grants the batter a timeout, he does not restart the pitch clock until the batter is ready to step back in the box. So it's basically an unlimited timeout. What they're trying out in AA and AAA is that you can still call timeout as a batter, but the pitch clock immediately restarts. So you're basically adding 8 seconds to your pitch clock by calling timeout rather than an infinite amount of time. And having that kind of control, I think, could make a lot of sense. Maybe you do so when you do a timeout in the NFL, you reset the play clock from whatever time it was at to another 25 seconds or whatever. Maybe instead of you immediately restart the pitch clock, you say, okay, now you've got a batter timeout of 5 seconds, and then we restart the pitch clock and you have those 8 seconds. I think that might make more sense because I still think if the batter calls timeout, he probably needs more than 8 seconds. But also there should be a limit. So I think that's where we're going to get to with that one. Is that one that's in AA and AAA. And I think they're just trying the others to be like, what would happen if they don't have timeouts? How bad would that be? Because if we can go to no batter timeouts, then we could make this even faster. But I don't think they'll get there.
No, I don't think they will either. Two other ones that I want to touch on real quick, Jeremy, the crackdown on PitchCom glitches. So this was, PitchCom has been around the game for a few years, and it feels like, I'm not saying, I don't think anyone's been caught, actually just lying about their PitchCom not working. I don't think that's been.
I will say that the person who wrote this article asserts that it has happened.
Yeah, and I'm sure that team sources can confirm
Jason
that.
Stark,
yeah,
who knows things? Yeah,
yes, Jason Stark does know a lot of things. But okay, so in AAA, They can claim that the PitchCom devices aren't working. Cool, that's fine, but it's going to be counted against their mound visit limits. So if a pitcher claims that his PitchCom is not working after his team is out of mound visits, it's going to be considered a pitch clock violation. I don't know. I think this is going to be another pain point for managers, especially if you are legitimately having um PitchCom issues. I don't know how I feel about this, Jeremy. What do you think?
I think I've gone back and forth a little bit on it, but I think it's okay.
Okay.
Because I think if you are having legitimate PitchCom issues after you've used up all your mound visits, that a ball is a small price to pay to get it figured out. Because it's only one ball. But at the same time, you don't want to deal with that if you don't have to. So you won't screw around and pretend you have a PitchCom problem when you don't, just to get a break. So I think this might work. I think this one could make it to the big leagues.
Interesting.
I think it would be okay. Maybe it transforms by you add an extra mound visit or two to the limit to account for including PitchCom glitches in there. Probably just one, I think, would be sufficient because PitchCom glitches don't happen that often.
No.
Even as they're allegedly pretending that they're not working when they are. So yeah, I do think we could see this one.
Okay. All right. Another one like the last one that I'm really invested in. So the whole spring training thing about taking your starting pitchers out and then they can return to the game depending on the scenario. Well, they're going to keep that going in the Arizona Complex League, the Florida Complex League, and the Dominican Summer League. So I wanted to go like word for word on Starks, like what's the goal? Because I did like that for each one of these rules, he laid out what's the goal, like what's the end game here. So Jason says there's one change that has no implications for any other league. It's purely a safety valve to keep the youngest pitching prospects in the sport from getting overlooked, fatigued, and potentially injured when an inning reels in the wrong direction. There are no plans to expand this one beyond spring training in these short season leagues. So I like that. I think this is a good way to focus on player health, and I don't think this should be like on the radar to come to the big leagues anytime soon.
No, and it's been very good in spring training because one of the things that you have to work on in spring training is not just how many pitches you throw, but up downs. And like they know they at least assume, I don't know what the numbers are that they have, but what we've heard on broadcasts at least is that they believe that, throwing 30 pitches in one inning is worse than throwing 30 pitches in 2 innings for your arm health. So in spring training, if the inning starts to go out of control, you're like, well, he's got to get his pitch count up, but I don't want him to get his pitch count up in this inning.
Correct.
And so being able to take him out and put him back in fixes that in games that don't matter. And in low A, the games don't really matter. It's funny because they've been talking on the Royals broadcast a lot about how they're going to use the ABS challenges. And they're like, well, if you do it in the minor leagues, and you get it wrong, no one cares. But if you do it in the big leagues, people are going to get really upset. And I'm like, aren't they trying to win in the minor leagues too? Like they care if they win, right?
Right.
Don't they?
Yeah.
But it is also,
but it's not as important.
Right. It's not as important. You are trying, if you're given a choice as a minor leaguer between winning or having a good game, you probably choose having a good game because your ultimate goal is to get to the big leagues. Whereas in the big leagues, when you make that choice, you are choosing winning most often, I think.
Yes.
Some guys would probably choose to have a good game, but not many.
not many.
And most of them would say, why not both? But yeah, so I think it's a great rule change for the minor leagues, especially the low minors. I could see it coming even as high as AAA. Probably AAA would be a stretch. AA would make a lot of sense to me, but I could see it in AAA. But that's not one that's ever coming to the major leagues, not in our lifetimes anyway.
No, at least. So, all right. Any other things on the rule changes before we move on to reviews?
Just real quick, the going back to the pitch clock thing, mound visits are going to be clocked. So instead of the umpire feels like you've been there long enough, there will be a specific time limit. Probably a good decision, probably something that will make it to the big leagues. An interesting one, catchers will be on the clock. So currently, if a catcher stands up to give signs to the infield defense, that is not, the pitch clock is paused while he's doing that. And they're going to add, the clock will run while the catcher's doing that. So either he's going to have to get fast or they're going to have to figure something else out. I don't know if that. What do you think about that one? Should that one make it to the big leagues? Do you think? Are you in
No,
favor of that one or not?
no, I don't think so. Like, I'll I'll have to see how much it pushes the on-field action. I would have to say, like, I get it. Seconds add up, but I don't
Mhm.
think this is one thing that you should rush personally.
Yeah, and I don't think catchers give signals to the defense that often. It's like if the bases are loaded, he's telling you which base to throw to.
Right.
How many bases loaded situations are there in a typical game? Not that
Not
many.
not that many. And it's probably one of those things it might tick like half a minute off the average. And I get it. You want the trend to stop,
And
but
A
just
and
doesn't
I would
matter.
say that there is good time spent in a baseball game and bad because none of us want a baseball game to only be 3 innings, right? That we want the games to not be too long, but we don't wanna take away good time, and
Correct.
I feel like if the bases are loaded and the catcher's up giving signals, that's a good tension moment that it doesn't hurt to have that. You could also argue in that same vein that when relievers are taking a minute between pitches before the pitch clock in those tense situations, that it was good tension. But it
Yeah.
was every single pitch, which takes away the tension instead of building it. And it
Hmm.
was, ridiculous amounts of time. And then they were doing it even when it was like a 10-2 game, they were taking that long in between pitches. So that's why that's the difference to me in the kinds of tension and the good time versus bad time. And I
Gotcha.
could probably write up a whole thesis about this if I wanted to. Maybe
Hey,
I'll do
that'd
that
be
some
fun.
off season if I remember. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that that's something that really needs to come to the big leagues because it's a rare enough situation.
Yeah, precisely. All right. Well, that is our rundown of the rule changes, and genuinely, we have a lot of listeners who go see games at all levels of the minors. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. The whole ABS thing. I was initially against it, but after hearing fans' reaction to it and seeing it for myself, that's when I really flipped my opinion on it. So
I'm
that matters.
I'm still of the opinion that we should just have the strikes called by the ABS the entire time. I don't
Uh,
like the challenges. I don't like that we're intentionally going to have some pitches be wrong still when we know we could avoid that. That feels disingenuous to me, but I'll get over it probably.
Nah, I still like having the umpire back there. It puts
Well,
the onus.
I'm
It
not
puts
saying
some
take
onus
the
on the
umpire
batter.
away. Let the umpire still make the call. He's got the just give him like a little earpiece, and the robot tells him ball or strike, and then they call it. The umpire is still there. It would feel the same. It would just be the call is correct.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
And
I'm
I
sure
know I'm
that'll
in the
get some responses.
minority on that, and I accept it, and I will survive.
All right, let's go ahead and get on to our Royals reviews. So unfortunately, folks, we got 2 negative ones today. I'll go ahead and start us off with the negative one. GameStop. So I
No.
yeah. So I got some tax return money. Told Katie, hey, with tax return money, I want to buy and like one of the first generation silver and black Nintendo DSs and a couple of games. I really had a hankering for it. My brother got one, and like, hey, we want to trade Pokemon back and forth whenever we play. So I hopped on to GameStop and I ordered it because I pulled up their website and they had one for like $67. I'm just like, that's a pretty good price. I'll take them up on that. And I ordered it. Said it was going to be at the house in 2 days. 4 days goes by and it hasn't left the original facility. Like they created the label for it, hadn't moved at all.
Well, that's frustrating.
Yeah, and but still marked it as delivered. Um, phone the call center was no help, and I emailed them before I called them, and there was no response to my email. Still hasn't been. I pull up our little. We get an email saying, "Hey, this is what you're getting in the mail today." I pull that up, and it says that the
That
package is
email,
good.
by the way.
What'd you say?
I love those emails. I love
Oh, I
that
do
you can
too.
sign up for those from the
Yeah,
postal service.
real
Great.
handy. Pull it up, and it says that a package from GameStop is going to be here today. Well, what in the world? So I go, I look at it, and yeah, sure enough, the package is coming, but it did not leave the facility until I disputed the charge on my card.
Mm,
So that is shady as heck. Honey
mhm.
says they're trying to scam me, which I ain't gonna lie. That's not too far off.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you would feel that way.
But any business owner knows that things happen, right? You can't control what the post office or any shipper does. But if you communicate with your customers about it and have constructive communication, that can smooth over a lot of those issues. GameStop did not have that in like any ounce of that. And just with that company's trend right now, unfortunately, I thought their online stuff would at least be safe. Nada. 0
Mm.
zilch. So I'm probably not gonna be ordering from GameStop ever.
Yeah, I haven't ordered from GameStop in a long time. I was a big GameStop fan 15 years ago. I remember I bought a PS3 from them and I got one of those replacement plans, which,
Mhm.
everyone will tell you those are a scam. I like to get them on some of my more expensive things, like a console. And I bought a PS3 from them. The laser, the Blu-ray laser went out on it within like a couple of months. So I took it back into them and I'm like, I'm expecting I'm gonna have to give it to them. They're gonna have to repair it and give it back, and I'm gonna have to go without it for a while. And I take it in, and they're like, "Okay, 1 sec." And they went and looked up that I did have the replacement plan. He went and grabbed another PS3 off the shelf with a game in it. It was a bundle, and was like, "This is the only one we got. Is that okay?" I'm like, Yeah." Handed me a brand new PS3 with a game in it that I then turned around and sold back to them for $30.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, because they still paid decent amount for some games back then.
Yeah.
Um, and that was really good, and so I was a loyal GameStop guy for a while, but, yeah, not anymore for sure.
All right, what you got on Netflix, man?
So have you ever seen the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Classic 90s action movie.
Uh-huh.
Just so good. Would you like to watch a more boring version of Predator?
Oh boy, what is it?
War Machine on Netflix. So, a reviewer that I follow on Blue Sky that I usually appreciate his reviews. We have similar taste. He said, I watched War Machine and I loved it. Here's 8 other movies I really liked that are, in the same vein you can watch. So I was like, heck, let me go watch War Machine. I'm in the mood for an action movie. So I pulled up War Machine. It stars a guy who's in Reach. I've
Alan
suddenly
Richson, I think is how you say
Yes,
his
Alan
name.
Richardson. He
Thad
was good.
Castle from Blue Mountain State.
Yeah, he was good in the movie. So, shout out to him. It's pretty much the only good thing in that whole dang movie. I'm sorry.
Man,
No, that's not true. His second in command of his squad was pretty good. So the movie starts, he's a mechanic in some unnamed Middle Eastern country, and he goes to fix his brother's Humvee, and he complains that his brother puts too much stop leak in it and jams it up. And then they're like they're in a zone where they don't think they're likely to enter combat, and then they're ambushed and his brother's killed. And his brother and he had a thing where they were going to be rangers, and he was trying to get out of it, and his brother was trying to convince him to do it. So when his brother is killed, he decides in honor of his brother, he's going to go become a ranger, an army ranger, not a Texas ranger. And they're different.
yes, very different.
And so he keeps applying for the camp, he keeps flunking out, and the movie kind of picks up on what is basically going to be his last attempt because he's about to age out. And the movie basically gives you, so it's got this A plot with just so much, what's the word, montaging for like the first
Okay.
half of the movie is just montages, which I hate. Like a montage is fine. I love a good montage, but if your montage is half the movie, you done screwed up something. And so he's trying and he keeps, surviving the cut downs. And man, it is just brutal watching the training that they're allegedly going through. That sounds absolutely awful and miserable. And I don't know why anyone would ever do that to themselves. But he's doing all this stuff, and they kind of make it. He gets pulled into the commanding officer's office, and he's like, I want you to back out, and I'll let you try again another time, but I'm not going to pass you through this time. And he's like, why? And he's like, because I'm not, you're broken, man. You can't do it. And he's like, but I'm not backing out. And the commanding officer's like, okay. And then, so he sticks around, and they're like, all right, you made it to the final thing. You got to do the March of Death, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Alan Richardson, you're in command of the unit now. You've refused command before. You're in command now. And then there's like this conversation between the CO and another guy who's like, hey, I think that that's the only path forward. Like, if he's willing to lead, then that will solve all his other psychological problems. Which, okay.
That's a choice.
And then he leads them on this mission, and then there's their alien giant robot thing starts trying to kill everyone. So it's a little bit War of the Worlds, a lot of Predator, and you see him take beats where he's trying to learn to lead these guys, and he starts to kind of take steps towards leading them, and then everyone dies except for him. And it's just like, why did you waste my time with this whole leadership subplot that doesn't mean anything? And then he manages to save one person, and he gets back, and they're like, well, now you're a ranger and the Earth is being invaded, so you're going to go lead rangers against the alien invasion because you're the only one who managed to defeat any of these despite not having any real weapons. And I'm just like, cool. You all have bombs and guns, and this guy killed it with literal rocks, and you all can't do anything. Yep, that checks out. That seems realistic. And it was just bland, man. You know, like Netflix movies are just absolutely bland. So, like I said, Alan Ritchson, I thought was pretty good. He was given some truly terrible one-liners. Arnold Schwarzenegger made a career off of taking bad one-liners and making them good. And Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't have done anything with these one-liners. I gotta see if I can look them up. I think one of his one-liners was, "Here comes a curse, so plug your ears," I guess. Stop leak, bitch, which is just not a thing you can shout at someone. That can't be a thing you say. Another one in another of the one-liners he tried to shout was thermodynamics, something, a curse word, and I can't find it. But yeah,
they all sound bad. I believe you.
You can't use the word thermodynamics in a one-liner. It does not work.
Nope, not at all.
So yeah, it was just bad. And it wasn't even of like the so bad it's good. It was just bad and boring. And why are we here?
Well, if you ever want to deep dive on why streaming movies have gotten so bad, go look up the research into the second screen experience. You'll understand why they're so bad out there, folks. But all right, well, Jeremy, we managed to pack in everything that we needed to talk about today. We'll be back recording tomorrow, looking ahead to opening day, packing up the Cactus League action and a few other things around the Royal Sphere. Is there anything else, Jeremy, that we need to talk about?
Not today. There's so much more to talk about, but not today.
Yes, that there is. All righty, folks. Well, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here, get on with our Saturday before we come back to you on Sunday once again. So thank you very much for joining us today. Make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening at, and we will see y'all soon. I am Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, go Royals.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.